and celebrating and looking back on my mother's life. It's never easy losing a parent. I know some of you have already had to do that, and I understand more than ever now how difficult that is. And Dad and I have been through a lot the last few weeks. It just, I don't know, it's like a fog, wouldn't you say, Dad? But
it was rough.
yeah, but I wanted to just give a little story of my mother's life. She was born in Italy, and those of you that are familiar with the map of Italy, it is more the southern area, known as Calabria. What was the name of her town?
She was born in
San
Stefano.
So
Rogliano was your grandpa when she was born.
Yeah. So that's
San Stefano is down the hill like that. Rogliano is a town on top of a mountain. You take these two diesels, engines, with the fifth wheel to pull you up there.
Oh my God.
And when you got up there, on weekend, there'd be 1,000 people selling all kinds of vegetables, pigs, chickens, you name it. Every weekend they would do that. But I took two diesel engines, maybe 60, 70 people per car to bring you up there. It's beautiful. And the town would, my wife was born in this town like this. But
It was more in the ankle area of Italy. They say Italy looks like a boot, so more in the ankle area. I guess would be where it's located. She was born in 1931 on a house on a mountain, I thought, though. You said her town was down, but I thought when she visited it was on a house on a mountain. And then the family...
Well, she moved to Rogliano when she married your grandpa. He was from Rogliano.
Okay. So Mom was born in a house in Italy on a mountain, and then eventually the family did come over, and her family, you'll see there's a manifest. They immigrated over on a boat, which I can imagine how comfy that ride was, and there's a picture of it. It kind of looks like a freighter or something. And it was named the SS Roma. And she came over, at that time it was just her and her older brother, the other siblings weren't alive. And the family first started off in, where did they go? It wasn't Michigan at first,
No,
they were in
they went
Pennsylvania.
to Pennsylvania. And then Wayne, New Jersey, when Frank, the oldest brother, went in the army, she had a sister in Dearborn, and they says, come on over here, you can work for the factory.
So that's
Chrysler.
So as people immigrated over, they would touch bases with family members or friends, and I guess this is social networking back in the day, and they would come over and help each other get jobs or establish the old-time neighborhoods you hear about where all the Polacks lived and the Italians lived over here and that, very different times. And the family settled in Dearborn, Michigan, where a lot of my mom's family is.
Garden, the front yard.
The garden was in the front yard?
Yeah.
But the family, a lot of my mom's side is still in Dearborn, Michigan, and there is family still in Italy. And then we're down here, and some of the family went to Arizona. And then we have some family from my dad's side is in Quebec. So it's interesting when you hear how the families come over and then where everybody just kind of ends up and works. Mom, at 18, took a job with Michigan Bell, which was the phone company, and she was a proofreader. So her job was to proofread any documents because we didn't have computers and spell check and all that great stuff, a lot more manual labor back then. And they would actually train you on the job. You didn't have to go to college, and she was in training to be an engineer. And she had a pretty good career, and you would go down into the city and you looked nice. And that's why I want a lot of these older pictures. You wore your nice dress, you wore the little hat and the gloves. And if you were lucky enough to have a car, you drove yourself or you took the bus to downtown Detroit for work. And she worked there for a while, and then some friends of hers, Jeanette, and...
This is in Manalola restaurant. It was a cave.
Yeah, they told my dad that they had a friend named Alia, also known as Allie, was her nickname, that he should meet. So Dad showed up on the porch.
Well, it was a shotgun blind date.
Was she not done? No shotgun. But I love my mother's story of it. She says he shows up and she answers the door and he goes like this.
Yeah, like,
You know, have a little couth. Younger boys, if you're on a blind date, don't look the girl up and down right in front of her. So then She had mentioned when they went out on a date that she had a wedding, and Dad liked the idea of a wedding because weddings, they went all out.
Unemployed and not much money.
And hungry. So he went on a wedding with her, and then a year later, in 1957, they got married April 22nd. And Mom quit working for the phone company, and Dad had a floor sanding business, so they would run their business, and Mom would handle the calls and actually go out on some of the estimates with Dad and that. And then they wanted to start a family, and their first child,
They want to start a family.
Oh, you didn't?
6 years.
My mother raped my father and became pregnant, and we had, not Susie, actually.
Bought a house.
Yeah, actually the first child was my brother, and his name was David, and back then, often when a child was delivered,
You know what's the
someone
best part of
died,
this
they couldn't
story?
live.
This is the best part. When when Errol, my foreman at the cement, told me about this nice Italian girl his wife boss was Alia. And Alia asked Jeanette, what's his name? Tino Fuco. Some school teacher gave me the name. She said, Fuco, could you tell him to spell it? So we go out with Jeanette and Errol on weekends because we worked at cement. And she says, Val, spell your name. So I spelled my name and gave it to her. She says, Monday morning I'll show it to her. She says, my God, my mother's sister was married to a Fugo and he was a bastard. Each other. Don't go out with that guy no more.
So Grandma didn't like Dad before she even met him. Because it was the same name as his other.
He was a Fugo, but we're not related. We come from maybe 100 miles apart. Yeah, she didn't want me to watch it. No, he sued me, this Fugo. My sister.
But they went out, and David, their first child, did not make it, but then they ended up having us 3 girls, so my sister Susie, and then
The first
Shirley,
one still birthed.
and then Valerie, my younger sister, and my mom, from her era, liked all the poster girls, and Susan, my other sister, was named after Susan Hayward, and I'm named after Shirley MacLaine. And then she used to joke around and say Valerie was named after Valerie Bertinelli, who was not even around. He was going to see what movie star was I born after, but actually it's a kickoff from Valentino.
Junior.
Yeah, she's Junior.
Valerie was almost born in a '68 Cadillac.
TMI.
I had to go
Born or conceived, TMI.
on South dug out in the woods were about 10 degrees out. I'm going like crazy. She kept saying, we'll never make it. We'll never make it.
And this is in January.
Sliding all over. I got there. I parked the car. They took her in. They used to have a big room. All the men would be smoking, passing cigar. No
In the
sooner I got
hospital.
in there, the doctor shows up and says, you're proud of a baby daughter. I don't think it was 2 or 4 minutes. I mean, yeah. So I told Valerie, you'd have been named Cadillac.
Cadillac instead of...
Oh, that was terrible. She kept saying, we'll never make it. We'll never. Sure enough, made it by 2 minutes.
And, yep, so then Mom and Dad went into the restaurant business, and we'll go real quick through that story because Dad has nothing good to say about those. But they owned all kinds of restaurants. At one point, he had a franchise up in Michigan called Piper's, and Dad had opened up a big nightclub. So they had Coney Island's pizzerias, and many restaurants
I had
over
my
the
hands
years.
in everything, I tell you.
Yep.
I got my hands cut off from the depression and the gas embargo.
Yep, so a lot of challenges throughout their life.
Oh, yeah.
And in the end, they ended up here in Florida in 1989. They moved back to Florida. And we've just been lucky to meet Mom. Mom, those of you that didn't know her real well, and those that known her a long time, Aunt Lillian and my cousins, what you saw was who she was, like super easygoing, slow. Oh, darn. Still right. Slow, even to pass away, slow. Mom was never in a hurry, and
Easy going.
easy going, didn't give me none of those
100
traits.
miles an hour.
Yeah, I always say none of those traits for me. Yeah. So we had the Energizer Bunny and slow for parents. And what I liked about Mom is she had her own opinions, but she respected yours. She was not judgmental. Whoever married into the family or your friends, she accepted them. Family members that were adopted, you know, that was family. Family members that, we have a family member that has mental disability, always visit her and took the time out to visit her. And even, gosh, you guys still were visiting Mary not that long ago, you know. That's just how Mom was. And everybody liked her. She worked full time until she was 72 at Morton Plant Hospital. And I went to a retirement party, and so many of the sales reps in that said the same thing, like, your mom was always pleasant. You know, you go to some places and they roll their eyes, oh, another sales rep in there, and your mom always had a smile and was just willing to help and pleasant, and it was just a joy coming and being able to work with her. I always liked rounding to Morton Plant because we knew we got to visit Ellie. So that's my words about my mom. I wanted to share a story that my cousin Tony Buffone told me. I guess him and his brother, Carmen, she had told them to take the bus and meet them in Detroit and that she would be there. And he goes, we were excited because Auntie had something special for us. And when they got there, she surprised them and brought them to a movie. And they thought that was so cool, yeah, that she surprised them and brought them to a movie. And he says, when he come out, this gentleman come up, panhandler, I guess, and he says, ma'am, can I have 25 cents for a cup of coffee? And, you know, my mom wasn't too happy about that. She was there with the two young boys, and she looked at him and said, that's funny, I was going to ask you for the same thing. And he just went, oh, sorry. So Mom also had a little sense of humor, and maybe not as robust as Dad and as loud as me, but she did have a little sense of humor about her gentle way, and she'd get you once in a while with that. So those are the things I'm going to remember and cherish, and I'm going to rely on my memories a lot. She was a good mother, a good family member, neighbor, friend, and I think everybody that had the opportunity to meet her was fortunate. And thank you so much for helping us through these times. All your support's been just meant so much to us. Anything else, Dad?
Yeah, it's pretty close. It was a destiny for me. I was going out with this girl, but this foreman of mine kept bugging me to go out with this Italian girl from Michigan Belle, and I give in. And from there we went to the wedding, had a good time. I kept asking her out. By the way, I tried to break up with her. Yes, I tried to break up with her one time. We were engaged.
What an ass!
I tried to break up with her.
You're breaking up with a woman you're engaged with?
Well,
young boys, take note of this.
I had a very bad childhood. I had a very bad childhood during the war. I was in the war.
Good. It's getting depressing now.
My dad was a terrible person, you know. Never showed any love, beat and eat, you know, we working 14 hours a day. So I was confused, and we made up. I said, well, we're going to do it. But I did break up with her one time. We were engaged. Yeah, and I thought of it. I says, you know, nice girl, you know, nice family. So we got married.
57 years last
There you go.
58 years they were together. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Just get a hand of everyone that's here.
I know.
Everybody say hi to my sisters. Where's Jack?
Seems Rob.
Excited because he got in trouble?
I never knew I was so young. I didn't know. And now to this day.
Oh, I put the hammer